Yep. 3, 2, 1, and we're live. Yeah. So we did live Q&As regularly as part of like the whole lockdown procedure on our Facebook group. And they just sort of felt it's not like they felt stagnant, but you were just talking about the same stuff quite regularly. And then we thought, well, actually, why are we doing them just to the private group when actually we could do them for everyone and anyone can chat to us? And then after that first one, we thought, well, actually, why don't we get people on that have an interest or a passion in some way, shape, or form with health and fitness, or are good at what they do, are passionate. On this week, we've got Don Heatrick on next week. We're starting to get quite a nice sort of lineup of people. So yeah, so that's where it started.
No, decent. Sounds good.
But that's why we then, so when we were testing around with software and what we should be using for just ways to make this better, we came across riverside.fm. So if anyone is watching and listening, riverside.fm, because what these guys do is they record your information locally and then upload it after the video podcast. So you afterwards, your audio is going to be uploaded from your computer after this. So then we get to keep the better quality.
Yeah.
So yeah. How's it going, Scully?
Yeah.
We're getting there, brother. We're getting there.
Lovely. Ladies and gents, we are in for our second Revolution Live Lounge, and this week we have Tom Old. Tom Old is owner of 4 barbershops now. 4. How does it sound when you hear people say something like that, Tom?
It's a bit crazy, really. I still, I never really thought I'd have 4 shops. I didn't even think I'd have 1 shop, to be fair. It was more just a laid-back barber who just enjoyed his job. And yeah, went into 1 shop, led to 2, 3, 4. It's just gone mad, really. Yeah, it's gone a bit crazy.
Yeah, because I was saying to Scully about this, but it was like me when I used to work at the gym, and a barber is like a similar sort of thing where like your mates were looking at like me and you, for example, and sort of being like, there was an element of like, we care about you. We're just wondering where you're going with this, like what the next thing is.
It definitely is like that, isn't it? I mean, you get into it because you enjoy it. You start off just working hard, getting your head down, and the progression is mad, really, in any line of work, isn't it? But certainly with our ones, we've progressed quite nicely in really a short space of time, I'd say, as well. It's gone pretty mad, but it's
I don't know. We are getting on a bit now.
If it's something you're passionate about, though, like there's no real limit, is there? I wouldn't say so. No,
definitely.
Yeah.
Now, I remember when you were training on your apprenticeship, and I came in for one of like your first haircuts, and it took you, no word of a lie, I think it took you about 2.5 hours or something like that.
It was a long time. And to be fair, we have apprentices now that say the same thing to us. That they say to us at a minute, "Oh, am I taking too long?" And if it is about 2 hours, I normally do say, "Yeah, you are taking quite long here." But I always have to think back to when I was doing it, and like you say, it was 2.5 hours then. But it's pretty crazy, really, how that time's gone. Really, that's 12, 13 years now, and
is it really?
I think back now, it does feel like yesterday. Really, it is pretty crazy.
Was it always the plan to get into barbering, or is it something you stumbled across? Or
not really. I think from a young age, I grew up like most young lads, wanting to be a footballer, or unfortunately, I was never good enough. But I just grew up as a normal lad, really. Wanted to just get involved with whatever, and with barbering, it never appealed to me at all. I was very fortunate though. I got 2 older brothers, and they're both barbers, so I was always involved with the barbering sort of world and work. Even from a young age, sort of the age of 11, 12, I'd always go into where they used to work, sweep up, make tea and do all them little rubbish jobs. So from there, I always had my
pay your dues, as they say.
Yeah, I always had my foot in the door a little bit in that sort of industry, but I never for once really thought I'd get into it. It wasn't until I was about sort of 17, 18 where I thought, oh, actually, let's go and get involved with it, see what you think, and if you enjoy it, stick at it and see where it takes you.
That's awesome, man. So how did the opportunity come about to I suppose, start franchising, start taking your own thing, like opening up your own shops? Like, what was the journey from you just being a barber to where you are now, having four of your own shops?
So how it started is, like I said earlier, I've got two older brothers that are barbers. One of them owned a shop in town. So at the age of like 18, I think it was, I went there, worked, like I said earlier, sweep up, just make tea, do all them little rubbish jobs, and see sort of where it goes from there. So I got involved with it. I really did enjoy it. I worked there for about 5-6 years, and then it got to the point where I just wanted to have something else really. I managed to save up a bit of money and thought, well, what can I do with this? I've always wanted to make more money and progress in life. That's when.
Have you always been like quite ambitious, whatever it was you was doing?
I suppose I have a little bit, yeah. I mean, when I was younger, I weren't really bothered. I suppose most young people ain't really bothered. You don't really think about the future, do you? When you're real young, you just messing about and you just do whatever. But no, I really did start to think about the future, sort of, early 20s, I'd say. So got my head down, worked hard, and like I said, I moved over to Mister about 5 or 6 years after working for my brothers. And as soon as I joined over at Mister, I joined my now business partner Mark, over in the berry shop, and he shared the same sort of passion and drive really as me. He wanted to open another shop. I wanted to open a shop. So from there, we just moved on and got our heads together and managed to find a nice shop over in Sudbury. That was our first one.
I've been there many times on the game.
Yeah, it was mad really. It all happened so fast. To be fair, when I left my brother's shop and then ended up over there, it all happened so quick really. I was there for about a month. This shop got offered to us. It was perfect. It was good rent, So for us, it was kind of at the time a no-brainer. But I think with Mark, he's such a passionate person, and he wants to do things quickly. And there's no real. We obviously think about things, but he's very much right. This is perfect. Let's do it. And I think that gave me more the incentive to be like, right, yeah, we've got to do this now. And as soon as we done one, it went well.
I work with someone like that, funnily enough.
It's all about getting things done, Scully.
For sure.
Mark's a smart man.
So this is to nowhere near take anything away from you, because I believe good things happen to good people, and I believe if you put the work in, the right things will come for you. But was it a bit of a case of right place at right time? As you say, you'd only been at Mr. Barber's for a couple of months, and then things snowball very quickly, and you are where you are. So is there an element of right place, right time, or do you believe that you controlled fate to put you there?
I think certainly it got to a point where I was working. Like I say, I used to work for my brothers, and working for your brothers is fine. Like, I mean, I get on with them really well, and it was more. I just wanted to progress, So I think for me, it was a good move at the time, and it felt right. So in that respect, I kind of made it myself. I'd say the situation from going into Mister and then suddenly a shop came up, it was kind of like, right, it's either sort of go for this now or you might not ever. So it just went for it, and so a bit of both really.
No, it's awesome, dude. That's awesome. I mean, this is going down so many routes. Like, there's so many things I want to ask, and I'm sure Adam's the same. Adam might approach this from maybe a bit more of a business perspective. I don't know, but I suppose if I link this back to Revs, we've spoken a lot about our branding, how people want to perceive us. I know Mr. Barber's got a fantastic brand behind it in terms of the aesthetic of the shops, the quality of the cuts. Like I've had a few barbers cut my hair, yourself included, and you're always going to walk in and get a good haircut. So your quality of your service, it's building a brilliant reputation for itself. I suppose, hopefully, what we're trying to do is have a similar sort of three things happening at Revolution. Do you think that helped the rise of where Mr. Barber is? Because you're kind of all over the place in East Anglia now, aren't you? So.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say so. It's certainly when I joined and when we first started off with our shop in Sudbury, there wasn't that many Mr. Barber shops. And from there, it's gone pretty crazy. I think there's 31 shops now.
Jesus.
We've got a name on 4 of them. But I think what's kind of helped things is, as the brand's got bigger, obviously it's helped us. But the more we've got involved as well, it's also pushed other people. Like I think there's 2 or 3 other shops that are friends of ours that have got involved because of us as well. So it's helped each other in that respect. So yeah, I think the progression is pretty crazy, really. I mean, like I say, when I first started, it was sort of 5, 6 shops, and now there's 31. So it has gone pretty mad.
What do you think makes you guys different then? Why have you exploded like you have from 5 to 31 in a relatively short amount of time? Like, what makes Mr. Barber different to any other barber shop that you can walk into off the street?
Yeah, I think it's just purely the branding. I think it just works so well. I mean, if I use myself for an example, I mean, if I would have left it works differently for me, I know, but if I'd have left my brother's shop and opened up, I don't know, just Tom's Barbers in Bury, it might have done all right, and I'm sure it probably would have done. Being a Bury lad, I've been here all my life, and I've been lucky enough to have, I've got a big client base, so I'm sure I'll be all right. However, I think if you want to then progress, like for me and my business partner, we want to have 4, 5, 6, maybe more shops, so I think to have a brand, it works better in that way. I mean, if I was to go over to Sudbury, like when we first opened and opened up a barber's called, Tom's Barbers, like no one there knows me, whereas if you open up a brand, that's already got shops established in various towns around that town, then it's probably going to be all right, so it depends what you want as well. I mean, if you want to just open your own shop and be comfortable in that, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to do that, that's all great, but if you want to progress and open up in a few towns and grow that way, then yeah, going down the brand sort of route.
There's a really interesting statistic that I read ages ago, so don't quote me on it because I can't remember the exact numbers, but it's something like 90% of all first startups fail, but 75% of all franchises succeed.
Yeah.
And that's exactly like what Tom was saying. Like if you've already got that brand, that tried and tested method, and someone's going to come in and say, or in Tom's case, you're going to go up to them and say, look, we're driven. We've got what you need to open up another one. We tick every box. Let us crack on. And in Tom's case, Tom, how many shops have you opened up in how many years?
So we've got 4 in, I think it's 5 years, 6 years.
Yeah. Like that's a prime example.
Yeah, Sudbury 6 years. So yeah, 4 shops in 6.
It's like pick up the brand, replicate it, put in that service. And like Tom was always like, it was always quality. I always remember when I used to go in and get my haircut back when I used to get haircuts. I always remember you go in and like, he was the guy that would always end up taking that little bit of extra time because he was interested in trying to make it look a certain way or give you what it was that you were doing, or like, and like being able to then just pick that up, replicate it, and go again.
That's another reason why I think the brand does do well. I mean, we all take our time and we all like to help each other out as well. I mean, there's various shops or various businesses, out there where, a lot of people that are working with each other, it doesn't necessarily mean they like each other, I think it's one of them ones with us, because it's such, in our shop, there's probably 3 or 4 barbers cutting at one point. You are relatively close, so you all do have to get on. So when it comes on to things like progressing yourself or, learning different techniques, you're all helping each other out anyway. So I think that's just what helps, as well. We all get on, we all like to help each other, and we all want to improve,
It's funny, we had that chat with Ollie last week, didn't we, Adam? When you said that first introduction, you said to Ollie, let's link up, and he said, all right, well, what are you after? And I think we pride ourselves on being quite open with sharing our information, sharing our knowledge. And it sounds similar, like in theory, although you're in this together, you're all in the same shop, I suppose there is a little bit of cutthroat look after myself because I've got to get people in my chair.
Sweeney Todd style.
Yeah, well, hopefully not. I've got to get people in my chair to pay my chair rent and take a bit home at the end. That could get tribal and competitive, but it sounds like you lot have overcome that, and actually you're all in this together for the understanding that we're going to create a brand that people trust. I think that's the huge thing, trust.
And I think don't get me wrong, we have made mistakes in the past as well, even with our businesses and stuff like that. We've had people work for us that don't really pull the same way, and when it's come to things like that where say someone, when we take appointments mainly now, but we used to do walk-ins. So say someone come in and there was, I don't know, 3 people waiting for one person. That one person wouldn't then really recommend, oh, why don't you jump in so-and-so's chair? or
Yeah.
because that was the way they were. They weren't really bothered about their teammates as such. They were more worried about themselves, which we're all aware. Everyone's got bills and stuff to pay, obviously, but at the same time, it doesn't bode too well, as a team if you're not recommending your teammates or your workmates. You know what I mean? So I think it does work well now once you get them sort of people out.
How's the booking side of things going? Because that was something I always wondered why barbers didn't do that more anyway. I know that you guys are obviously busy particularly at peak times anyway.
Yeah.
But how's the booking side of things going?
Do you know what? It's one of the ones where for years and years, barbers probably the first 9-10 years since I've been doing it, it's just been walk-ins, and it was just all we kind of knew really. But having appointments is so much better. I mean, I don't think we'd ever really go back to walk-ins. I mean, we would take walk-ins if we had a spare space, or if someone walked in at the end of the day and you didn't have much to do and you thought, oh, go on then, let's do one more, which we'd do it in that respect. But I think appointments are so much easier. It's better for everyone. It's better for us. We know who's coming in. The customers haven't got to wait. They can come in at a certain time, get their hair cut and get out, so it just works better for everyone.
Because that was always one of the things that I remember, like you speak to people, that's one of the frustrating things about a barber, is that you would go in, particularly if you're a popular one like yourself, you go in and you think, actually, it's the waiting as well as that's the time to get your hair cut. It just trims away your day. And nowadays, people are so busy. I think, like you've just said, I think adding in that booking thing will make a massive difference to the amount of people. Do you find that you get more people throughout the day now?
I think you do, yeah.
Not now.
I think because before you couldn't really look at it. You couldn't really work out what you were doing throughout the day. Obviously, you look at it financially at the end of the day and you'd know. But I think now you can set your day out and be like, right, I've got 10 clients in today. You're mentally prepared for that, Whereas some days you get there, say you're running a bit late, you haven't prepped any of your food or anything like that. So say you get to work and then you're non-stop all day. Like mentally, you're drained by the end of it because you wasn't ready for it. Whereas now, we've got like a booking app and everything. You look at it, you can see what's coming in, so you can prep yourself correctly for the day.
I've got loads and loads of questions coming in here now. So I'll ask two that kind of go back to back. I'm just going to rewind the conversation a little bit. So you said you made mistakes in the past.
Yeah.
From my rugby coaching background and my rugby coaching biases, I'm all about putting my players in environments to purposefully allow them to make mistakes and learn. So I'm really interested in how you've used those mistakes to learn. What have you learned from mistakes? And the second one, which kind of ties in with that, is you said in the past you've brought in the wrong people around you. So have you learned any, I suppose, screening methods, questions, characteristics for people in the future now?
Yeah, I think what it used to mainly be was we'd always go searching for the best barber. As in, when I say barber, I meant the best person at cutting hair. Which when you stand back and you think of the best barber, it isn't really just the best person at cutting hair. It's the best person with customers. It's the best person who's punctual. It's people that can do things correctly and properly. People that are good with others, whereas before we've had a couple of people like that, not everyone, I would never name names, but it's you find with people like that let's say you've got a young apprentice and he's coming through, but the senior guy who he's looking up to is always late, he's always talking about the wrong things, or if there's someone like that, they're kind of poisonous to the rest of the team. So for us, we've made them mistakes before, and I like to think we won't do them again.
No, that's good, man. That's good. I suppose my second line of questioning then is, you've said about your booking app and organising your day. I know, especially in that final release after breakdown, I'm sure your life was absolutely manic. How do you go about organising such a busy schedule? Are you good at it? Are you able to put time aside for yourself and put time aside for work? Like, how do you go about organising your day and your schedule?
So what it will be when we reopen, like it was last time, is like I say, we just mainly do appointments now. So we've got like a booking system online. So basically, every barber will have their set days, their set hours. People will book in for them hours that are available, and then from there, if it's up to you what you do, and obviously your days off and stuff like that. So, for me personally, obviously I'll work whatever days I've got to work. Then, I can then structure the rest of my life around that. If I want to go and train or take the dog for a walk, or when we can, if me and the missus want to go out, but certainly when we reopen it, I don't think it's going to be time for anything really. It's going to be mainly just haircut after haircut, I reckon.
Like one of my good mates' girlfriends is a self-employed barber or hairdresser, should I say? Beg your pardon. And she was doing 6 days a week, 12-hour days, just to catch up with clients and get some money in the bank. And she just said it was absolutely mental.
Yeah, no, and that's how it will be when we reopen. It will go pretty crazy. It did the first time. It was pretty mad. And then before we closed, I'm trying to think how many times we've closed now. I think we've closed 3 times. Before we closed the second time, I think it was one of them ones where even myself, I went in and I was doing from 7 in the morning till nearly 10 at night, just because people want it done, And with our job, it's very similar to other jobs that are closing. I suppose you've just got to be there for the customers when they want it, because they're going long enough without it. So yeah, we just had to be there at that time, and yeah, we'll be there again when we reopen.
Are you good at managing your personal time, or is it something that you've had to learn? Like, I know you said I'll go in and I'll do my hours and I'll do what I've got to do. So if it's a 7 till 10, like a 15-hour day, you'll do it because it has to be done. Is that something you're still trying to learn? Hey, Adam, welcome back.
You're back.
No, go on.
So I was just asking Tom, and this might be relevant to some of our members. He was just saying, like, after the last lockdowns and stuff, he's just had to do what's had to be done. So if it's a 15-hour day, so be it. And I've just said to him, is he good at organising his own time, finding Tom time? Is it something he's had to learn? Is he still learning it? So Tom, back to you, man.
It is definitely something that I've learned probably the last few years. Sort of now I'm married as well. It's nice. I like to do things with the wife. I like to, we've got a dog. I like to take the dog out. I like to go on nice, I like to go on nice holidays and do things like that, because they are obviously important to everyone. It doesn't mean that that's the right or wrong thing to do. That's just what I personally like to do. That's my blowouts. That's how I recharge. Some people like to go to the pub. Like I don't. Well, I very rarely drink, just because I'm a lightweight. But I just can't.
Like you and me both.
But for me, that is just
In fact, all 3 of us on here aren't that great with alcohol at pace.
Adam, shush.
But managing the time it's been a hard one. Obviously, last year was just a write-off for everything, wasn't it? But managing the time, certainly before that, was becoming quite nice, especially with the appointments. It was nice. I mean, you could take your last appointment at 3 o'clock. You'd be done by 4 o'clock. So then, right at 4:30, I could meet the wife. We can go here. We can do this, do that, and then after that, we could go home and watch that on TV. You can actually start planning your life. Whereas, like I said before, with walk-ins, you never really could plan much because you closed at 6. If you want to be out by 7, you're probably not going to be out by 7. You're probably going to be out by 7:30. So managing time and stuff now, certainly. And certainly after this, like, third lockdown, it makes you want to. It's
all out the window now.
Yeah, exactly. How
have you found like the last 9 months, Tom? Because obviously, like ourselves, you've been severely hit due to the coronavirus procedures and regulations that have been put in place. Not only have you been shut for the majority of the last 12 months, like ourselves, but even when you could open up, the experience, which is all part of the brand, both in our case and your case, is also like diminished slightly. Have you found it? What have you guys done?
Yeah, so with it, it's obviously been a rubbish year for everyone, and it's not been easy in any way. But for us, it's just been the inconsistency of, we just want to know when we can be open, when we can do this. But no one knows anything really at the minute today, and so it's the inconsistency that everyone sort of struggled with. I think more. It's difficult to promise people stuff like, we get messages now with people saying, when can I book in for my next haircut? And you think, well, we don't know. We don't know much at the minute. No one really knows anything. So you can only play it by ear, or and then I think it was the second lockdown, we got a couple of weeks notice, and even then, like, a couple of weeks notice is not a lot, is it? But I understand in these times as well, they can't
I don't think
promise
we
too
even got
much
that,
either.
did we? I
don't
can't remember
know.
what we got.
Probably,
I
yeah.
had
Probably about a
the
month,
same sort
wasn't
of thing.
it?
I remember in the first lockdown, people texted me saying, "When is Rev opening back up again?" I was like, "No,
Yeah.
call Boris, ask him."
But yeah,
See
no.
what's going on.
So as a business, we've been all right, to be fair. We've kept our head above water, so we're surviving, and we should survive it. So just need to get them dates where we can open back up and start enjoying ourselves again. Really.
Yeah. How have you personally found it? Because we spoke about this in the first live lands, the one that we did in the group, in the members group, and members said like they asked us questions about the mental health aspect of lockdown, or more specifically how it's affected us. And I said that I've actually been quite lucky because we've been so busy. It's actually been good for me to work upstairs. So you're not commuting. I can still see the kids more. So I've actually really enjoyed it, subject to the additional stresses and pressures that come from trying to navigate a face-to-face company through the times we're in. So how have you found it personally?
I mean, to be fair, the first lockdown, I think because no one really knew how long it was going to be. I think I must admit, I kind of I didn't, I enjoyed the time to myself because I never really had the time, but I obviously missed work. But I think it was kind of good. It gave me a chance to focus on things I'd never really focused on before. So I started focusing more on my diet, started exercising more, training more, taking the dog out for longer walks. Usually it would be sort of like a quick 20-minute before work, or so I'd be able to take her out a bit longer. The wife has a couple of days off in the week. She works for the NHS, so she's always at work. So, but she had a couple of days off, so we're spending a bit more time together, going for like nice long walks and stuff like that, and made you probably really appreciate other things.
How's Jess been finding it? Obviously, working with the NHS.
Yeah, I think it's it depends what kind of day it is. I think some days are obviously really stressful, some days are not so bad, but yeah, she is getting there. It's probably more stressful now, I'd say, with what's going on. Like with the vaccines are rolling out and stuff, so it is pretty.
The numbers have gone crazy
intense
around this area.
Yeah, it's pretty intense for her at the minute. So yeah, so she's working extra hours and stuff like that, which she's happy to do, and obviously I'm happy because it's a bit of an income while we're closed. So
yeah,
I think but it's mentally probably hit everyone, this, hasn't it, in its own way as well. So
I think this third one has really hit home with a lot of people.
It definitely has. I mean, the first one and even the second one, we had the first one certainly we had nice weather, didn't we? Everyone could go out and go and enjoy themselves. Whereas like now, you can't really do much. I mean, I'll still put 4 layers on and go for a walk in the morning because for me that's what I like to do. But some people it really will hit them hard, won't it? So hopefully.
I've definitely noticed this time round that whenever you speak to everybody, there is I don't know, like a sigh of, I wouldn't say desperation. People are fed up.
Yeah.
Like you say, this time round they can't go out. Like my other half. So we got 2 kids, one like 20 something, or 2.5, and the other one's 16, 17 months. And just to have them in the house all the time. Now we're lucky that we have a bit of space to sort of play around with them and everything. But in the first lockdown, they're out in the garden all day. They went on a couple of walks each day. But this time around, with it being dark, dingy, windy, just from everyone I've spoke to, they definitely seem to just really want to get things over and done now with. And I also think that that's one of the reasons why I've noticed in this third lockdown, people are taking it more seriously than any other lockdown. At least that's what my perception on it.
Yeah, people don't want to go out.
I think that is just a case of people are like actually anything just to get it done now and just let's get on.
Yeah.
What's that? The meme going round? Just stay indoors, do what you got to do, and then we can talk about it at the pub.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that brings us on. You sort of mentioned it already. In the summer, you up your ante on your focus on your fitness, your transformation, your health. What was it that made you think, right, I want to make a change now?
To be fair, mate, like I've always trained and stuff. But I've never eaten correctly. I've never really gone down that path. Whereas I've always thought I could sort of out train a bad diet. Whereas like you guys all just laugh at it because obviously you.
Mate, I've been there.
can't.
Don't you worry. Like,
Yeah, I've been there, done it.
we're all there,
So-
holier than thou, mate. We're just as guilty as everyone else.
Yeah,
And
do as
you
I
know what?
say, not as I do.
Absolutely.
Do you know what? It wasn't. So that's what it wasn't really like the physical side of things. I've always loved that. It was more. It was more just the eating, and getting all my diet right, making sure all that was fine, and also I think mainly for my head. To be fair, mate, like I'm not one to struggle with mental health. Like, I'm lucky, really. Some people do, but and I know people that do. But for me, I think I have to have a focus. I have to have a drive. So for me to plan something to make sure, right, let's focus on your diet. Let's get this right. Then we can train correctly. Before you know it, I've taken up most of my day. So I might be someone that, and I think I would be someone who would struggle if I didn't have a focus. So for me, I know that I have to be busy. So to pinpoint that before anything else and make sure that I'm busy, hopefully it works and it's a good thing.
So how do you think you're going to cope then when everything opens back up and you go back to normal life, 4 shops on the go, your own cutting of hair, obviously fitting in time with the other half, fitting in time and therefore making sure that you look after the dog as well, and then making sure that you still have that big enough window to look after your own health and focus on your own. How do you think you're going to cope with that?
Yeah. So well, when the gyms are open, mate, I'll always be in there at 6 o'clock in the morning anyway, because I'd rather get in there before I can get to work, even if I'm working in this, and it takes 40 minutes to get there. I'd make sure I leave at a good time. So, I could be doing my first couple of haircuts and everyone thinks you're crazy for going to the gym at 6. But to be fair, mate, I'm not someone to make excuses. Like, even if I'll just make the time because I'm just one of them people that I can't find an excuse at all. Like, if I want to train and I want to be in the best shape I can be in, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to get up a bit earlier and do what I've got to do before work, or do it after work, or make sure I meal prep the night before, or for me that's just how I work. I have to do things like that. Like I can't make excuses. So if we have the same conversation in the summer and I'm not in the shape I want to be in, there is no excuse. There is
It's
no
interesting.
excuse.
That's a big conversation we're having with our members at the moment, is that motivation versus discipline. It's
Yeah.
interesting you say the word unfortunately there, which I'm sure it may well have just been a throwaway word, but it also may be that sometimes you don't want to go to the gym, but
Nah.
it is
Yeah.
that what's the word I'm looking for? Like, that's the price you've got to pay to be getting to the goals that you're at.
Yeah, exactly. It's sacrifice at the end of the day. I think you've got to do certain things to get to where you want to be. And there's nothing wrong with people that don't want to do that. But I always find if it gets to the summer and you keep putting things off, the only excuse is really from yourself, isn't it? You got to sacrifice a few things to get to where you want to get sometimes.
Yeah, I think showing that extreme accountability and ownership of your choices definitely makes a big difference. How would you? So if someone's watching this, or if you're chatting to someone and they're saying, "Tom, I love the shape you've got into, but I just can't get myself going," what would you say to them?
I think I just ask why. You got to ask yourself the questions why you can't do that. I mean, for me, it was always just pure laziness. But if you asked me that question, I wouldn't say I was lazy. I'd just be like, oh, I work hard, or I'm too busy. I've got to do this. But if you want to get to where you want to be physically and mentally, then like I say, you're gonna have to dig in somewhere and find the time, because
Yeah.
I think. Sorry, Tom.
No, go on, you're all right.
So that I put out a video to one of our members, a little drop in the other day about how I train, and sometimes I'll purposely put in the horrible session, the nasty stuff, the stuff I want to do, because I don't know, maybe that eats into my little narcissistic way that I like to train. But I suppose what am I trying to say here? Like, part of the reason I threw that out to the members is because I wanted to give them just a tiny bit of tough love, which was to say, a bit like you've said, you can make all the excuses you want. And you can say, oh, yeah, but I'm cutting hair 15 hours a day, and then I've got to take the dog for a walk, and then I've got to see the missus, and where do I train? Or you can just say, you know what, if I want this goal, I've got to make sacrifice, may or may not be the wrong word, but actually I've got to make a change here. I've got to make some action happen.
Yeah,
So
of course. Yeah.
I suppose that's a bit of a statement, but a question on the back of that, like, what changed you from the yeah, but guy to the no, this has got to happen every morning guy?
I think I was just like, personally, when it comes to sort of fitness and health, I was just always I don't know, I always felt like I was training but not really getting anywhere. And I'd always think I was sacrificing things and doing things correctly, but obviously I wasn't. So sacrifice a couple of other things, and I'm quite lucky, really. I mean, like I say, I've got 4 shops, so I can kind of work what hours I want. If I want to go in a bit later, I can. So there isn't much sacrifice there as such. And also I've got I've got a good family around me and stuff like that. So they'll take care of things if I need things done, or the missus, if it means I'm going to go for a late night run or something, the missus will take the dog out. So you do need that around you as well, of course, but also, yeah, like you're gonna have to sacrifice a little bit here and there, I suppose, or just not even sacrifice, just change, your routine and your habits and stuff like that. That's all it is.
Like when I put that video out, like I held my hands up to the members and say, I get it that I can't sit here on high saying go and work out every day for an hour, because it is literally my job to do that. I totally understand that. Like you said, you're privileged enough to be in a position where you're your own boss and you can make the time that you want, but you have also said, right, I've got to make a change. Where does that change happen? It's 6 a.m. in the morning. Whether I like it or not, whether I'm going to call it sacrifice or change, this is where I've got to fit in this bit of time and work to get this goal. And I still think, yes, we've all got our different stresses, schedules, workloads, everything. But I just wonder sometimes, and again, I apologize if I offend or if it sounds a bit tough love, but I do wonder if sometimes people are actually finding time to make the change that they need to make changes, to get to the goals that they want.
And the thing is consistency as well, isn't it? I mean, you can have, I don't know, let's say I worked out and ate well for a week, and then I look at myself and I think, I ain't changed much. Well, you're not going to change much in a week. You need to make it your new lifestyle. You need to make sure you're consistent with what you're doing. It's very hard just to say to someone, right, drop all your junk food and just eat clean. And I love junk food more than anyone. I literally do. I'd eat it every day if I could. So
have you been to that new Burger Amore?
No, I haven't yet. I've been saying to the missus, I want to try.
So good.
Mate, get there.
Burger Amore, if you're listening, hit the nail on the head.
Can you be our sponsor? You can sponsor the pod. Me and Adam had the little date night for 2 when we was painting the studio. It was it's gorgeous. It was
very, very nice. Now, I'm a fan of junk food. I think I sort of had something like that last summer, where, like you say, for me, it was, I got to a point where I was just like, actually, I wasn't making enough time for my health and fitness, and I was feeling the effects of it. And I think that's one of the perks to having for anyone who has been healthy and fit and whatever they class that as. And then they go through a phase of stress and lack of attentiveness to their own body. And you can really feel that difference. And sometimes, if you've experienced that can be enough to make you say, right, I need to really make a change and make a difference. But exactly like you say, I think you have different, not motivational tools, but different. You have to figure out what tools enable you to be as consistent as possible, because that's where you really make the change. That's why we call ourselves a lifestyle system, because we can give you the plan to help you lose weight as fast as possible. But actually, we want to give you the confidence and the consistency and the self-belief that gives you that healthy lifestyle across time.
Yeah, definitely. And when I say sacrifice, obviously it's not as easy to sacrifice everything, is it? Or, give up certain things. I mean, like, you obviously understand, Prescott, that you've got kids. I don't have kids, so for me, things are...
Do I?
Things like me are going to be a bit easier, aren't they?
Who have you been talking to?
If I had a couple of kids, obviously things would be a bit different. But I certainly wouldn't. Like I say, I'm probably a bit different, where if I wasn't getting to where I wanted to be, and I was using kids, if I had kids as an excuse, then I would know that within myself. So then I couldn't do it. So I'd make sure I made time in other ways. I don't want to. I just don't like making excuses, and then knowing I can actually change things. which is odd really for so long, for how long I was, eating the wrong things. But like I said, I weren't too sure when it came to eating and stuff. I weren't too sure what I should be sort of eating. So going to the gym
What
and
was
stuff
it?
like that was always a thing. But yeah, the diet was always.
So like we've spoke about the fitness side of things, but what was it on the nutrition front that made? Where do you get, or what does your day look like on a food front? And again, what would you say to someone who wants to focus on the food a little bit more? What would you say to them about the sort of common misconceptions that maybe you had prior to starting anything?
I think probably like the quantity of food. Like I never used to weigh my protein or weigh my carbs out or weigh my fats out, or anything like that. I used to just sort of be like, oh, that looks enough. So when it come to it, I was probably eating way too many carbs, even though I was eating healthy carbs. Like I was eating rice and pasta and things like that. But I didn't certainly need to eat them every day, and the weights I was eating were just ridiculous. But I'm not educated enough in that line of work to understand. You just understand it as rice, that's healthy, pasta, that's healthy, but you just don't understand the weights and measures and things like that. So I think in my mind I was always doing the right thing, but yeah, for my metabolism, mate, I probably wasn't.
Yeah, no, definitely. And would you say, so one of the things that I think that there's a big misconception of is that everybody thinks that there's like this perfect plan that they can follow for them.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, you can calculate what an individual should maybe start at, but how much from where you started to where you are now, do you think developing an understanding of how your body works has played a role in your development?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I kind of know what I can and can't have now. I'm not saying I can't eat certain foods, because I still will eat certain foods if I fancy them. I'm only human. But it's made me literally understand, like I say before, with weights of food and stuff like that, like what I can and can't have, and when to eat a certain amount, or I don't want to overindulge, or things like that. Like it's very easy to say, oh, if I'm weighing out my breakfast, let's say, and I'm weighing out 50 grams of oats. If the bag's got a tiny bit left and I pour it in, it's another 40 grams, then I know, oh, hang on, it's nearly double what I should be having, So whereas before I'd just throw it in there, I wouldn't even care, Whereas now I'm, certainly at the minute I'm just because I'm trying to lose a bit of fat for the summer. So at the minute I'm really trying to be strict with it. But
mate, you haven't got much more to go, have you?
I have, mate. Yeah, Christmas was fun
to
me.
us all. It was good to
yeah,
us.
Yeah,
it
you
was
and me
really, it was
both.
really good. Yeah, it was really good. I did enjoy that.
Interesting you said there about I'm only human, I'll still eat the treat if I want. Like, what is your mindset around that? Because I've said it quite often to our members, either directly or in passing. I'm a big believer that's why all these new fad diets don't work, because they make food, which is essential to us, granted, some more than others, but food is essential to us, and they put all this guilt and taboo and shame and bullshit around it. So
yeah.
what is it something you've had to work on? Like, what's your your process like when you have that jam donut? Do you go, oh shit, I've ruined it? Or do you go, yeah, so what, I've chosen to do it? Like,
do you know what? It just depends, I think, on the day sometimes. Like, if you're having a bit of a rubbish day and you do fancy something a bit naughty and you have it, then, naturally sometimes you do feel a bit guilty, but I can't go through my life, or, no one can go through the rest of their life eating something rubbish and feeling that guilty about it, really. I mean, I try and make sure at least, like, I don't know, throughout the week, as long as you're sort of 80% on point, I'd say, like for me, that works. The other 20%, I'm not saying go and stuff your face with chocolate and sweets and stuff, but, if I do fancy something and it's there, I should have it, because I don't want to give up things and say, oh no, I can't do that, because essentially, once things open again and we can go to the pub and have a beer, and you should be able to say, oh yeah, I fancy
cheeky little bottomless brunch.
you heard
exactly.
it here first. Tom O's 80-20 diet, 80% great,
20% pub.
I'll tell you what, just for the video, that is, you should look at it, it's terrible. So, 50-50. That'd be right.
That's what it is. Slogan.
That is, I think that, if you go with that attitude, then, as long as you're sort of, like I say, it depends on the body, we could all eat the same things, us three now, and, over the next month, I might put on X amount of weight, you might lose weight, and you might maintain. You know what I mean? So it's hard to know. It's knowing your body, and it's just
Exactly.
learning your body, isn't it?
I think that's something which people underestimate so frequently. Again, going back to that sort of trying to find that perfect plan for them immediately, it is about that. It's the old what's it called, fountain of youth scenario, where it's not about actually the fountain; it's about the journey it was to get there. And it's much the same in your health and fitness. It's the exploring the types of foods that work for you. It's not only saying actually, okay, on paper these foods fit what it is that I'm looking to achieve. Actually, maybe some of those don't agree with your stomach in the way that they should do. So you get a suboptimal performance from that point of view. Or maybe you are somebody which can be a little bit more carb focused or a little bit more fat focused, and the other way actually has a detriment effect to you. Or maybe a certain way of eating starts to give you brain fog and affects the way you sleep. And I think I think it's good. It's good to hear you say things like, actually, it's about that exploration, and it's definitely worth. I think it's definitely something that people should be enjoying more is the exploration on how their body works, because it just makes such a huge difference. And I think it's the thing that really enables you to keep consistent over time when you really understand how your body works.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And like you say, even with even having that guilt and stuff by having something a bit naughty or a little bit of junk, you know, but I do think you need that every now and then as well, just to keep your head right, you know, because if you're just going to be so good, like you're not really living that much of a life as such, are you? And also you're going to get sick of eating well, and then eventually you're just going to give it up. So I think you need to have a nice balance, like I say in there, you know, even if it's 80%, 20% or 70%, 30%.
How do you want to what you want to achieve?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Completely down to that.
Fair, like, if I think back to the summer, I mean, I was lucky enough to go away last summer. I went away for 4 days with the missus, and sort of the couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, you had to isolate for 2 weeks as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I had to, but just have a 4-week holiday. No, it's yeah, no.
I know your type.
The 2 weeks leading up to that, though, I was proper harsh with my diet. You know, I was on low carbs and I was on a lot of cardio. You know, so I was really trying to pull that last bit of sort of fat off. And that was
trying to get that wiry look.
Get
the feathers.
I saw the Insta. It was all worth it, brother.
it was hard, but then you know you can't. If anyone thinks that's the sort of level you're going to maintain and live off, you can't do that. Like, you know, I do feel that the more I've got into it, the more you look at these sort of pin-up fitness models or whatever you look at them, like their bodies are in great condition, of course, but you know, to maintain that, it must be some going. Like, it really must. Like,
I've had mates who have done photo shoots. Obviously, DJs competed, and they all say like the 4 weeks before is just hell. You're walking around like a zombie. You're not really present anywhere. You're just about scraping up your daily energy to get through your session. That's almost your sanctuary. Like, but I think there's definitely a shift that I'm seeing in the fitness world, the social influence and all of that, where more and more people are saying, here's an extreme we don't want to be for health benefits, but actually here's an extreme which isn't maintainable. You're probably not going to be as happy as you thought you was going to be when you're there. Actually, let's redefine what healthy is. Healthy might not be looking a certain way. It might be looking better than you did, or whatever that means to you. But actually, it's how do we feel day to day? How do we move? Are we performing at a level we want to perform at? Have we got rid of all that stigma around food in our mind? There definitely seems to be that shift going on.
I think there's a change in public consensus on that sort of stuff. Because, like, if you go back, go back to the Jane Fonda years, then everything was all about the low intensity aerobic style, getting yourself as thin as possible effectively. Then we went through that phase, and you could argue that the focus got on everybody being skinny as opposed to fit and healthy. And then we've sort of come out of that, and there's been a lot more focus around strength and functional movement, and actually then people sort of people being more comfortable with different varieties of health and fitness. Again, going on from what Tom was saying, like last year, I decided like I wanted to make a change, but I wasn't looking at getting shredded or anything. I just wanted to put on more size, because I was going in the opposite direction. I just thought I'd had enough. I might change that goal later on in the year, like Tom, and I might decide, I'm going to try and trim a little bit more as the summer comes around. But like it's that person's personal preference. And if I'm trying to get to the point where I'm a little bit heavier, a little bit thicker, then and I'm not looking for that lower body fat percentage, like, it doesn't matter if I veer off my my eating regime in the way that it would do, so like Tom last year when he was trying to get as shredded as possible for his holiday. And I think people giving themselves flexibility on the style of outcome that they want, I think makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Tom, I've got to ask you, what on earth made you want to open a barbershop in a pandemic?
All right. So, that was a strange one, mate. It was to be fair, like
Because I remember obviously seeing like everything shut down. Everyone was like getting fed up with everything.
Yeah.
And then this man, not only was he getting shredded in lockdown, but he was also opening up another business.
He's living the dream that we all want.
Tom Old is just defying COVID.
Do you know what? With that, we are obviously fortunate in a way, because we went and looked at the shop. So not last October before, so 2019. We went and looked at the shop in this. It was free. It was no one. It was vacant. Sorry, no one was in there. It was good to go. As soon as we see it, we knew it was going to be a goer. So we contacted the guys. We put an offer in for it. It was all accepted. Everything was sorted. And then for some reason, it just never crossed the line. Bear in mind, we looked at it in October. It got all the way to February, and obviously we started hearing about what was happening in the world and stuff. And they decided to then finally get it back to us mid-March.
So what was going on at that point? How come?
To be fair, mate, I can't even give you an answer for that. I have no idea. I have to be very careful what I say as well. Like, I have to be careful what I say, because obviously they're.
I don't. No, because this was before that, when he said that effectively they were taking ages just to get things completed.
I don't know what mate, honestly, I have no idea. Like, be careful what I say. Obviously, like, we're still something to do with it. So, but it took a while to get over the line, and they finally did come back to us in sort of mid-March with, do you want to agree it now? Do you want to sign it all? And it was like, well, obviously not. We're clearly not going to sign a deal to put us in the shop. So, but
I bet you got your ass in gear now.
Yeah, exactly. Now, but it worked out quite nicely for us in the end, because had we have opened it when we intended, which was sort of October, November, we'd have only been open 2-3 months, and then we'd have been hit with this. So it would have been a right pain, but it gave us an extra bit of time to save some more money. It got us, some other things we sorted out. We got a couple of barbers that were ready to go and work there as well, which is quite nice. So it did help out. Everything sort of fell into place quite nicely. And then when it came to the chance to when we were going to reopen was it July we reopened? I think it was July.
I was just gonna say, when was it that the disc shop officially opened?
So we opened our other shops back in July, and then I think it was August, September time we opened up.
Nice.
This.
There are some.
It was great. To be fair, we had the whole deal ready, and everything was. It was like I say, it was ready to open, but for some reason, I'm not too sure why it took so long. It ended up doing us a favour, to be fair. So we ended up signing it over when we could, and we opened it up, and we were pretty committed, to be fair. So our hearts were already set on it. It weren't really a question when we closed the other shops down because of the pandemic. It weren't really a question of, oh, we can't do this now. We were pretty much in. We agreed everything. It was kind of there, and it just made sense. It's a town we've wanted to do for a long time, and we were never going to pull away from it. So,
no, fair play. I think there's a great saying, which is, when there's blood in the streets, invest. Well, I think that's particularly applicable at the moment.
I know that one, but
yeah, you know that famous saying.
Yeah, look it up. When there's blood in the streets, invest. And that is, like, I mean, it's perfectly fitting to the circumstances which you found yourself in. But I think for any small business owner, if you've managed to sort of get through this, work on your brand development, work on trying to look after your clients or members or customers as much as you possibly can, and provide as much value as you can, I mean, fingers crossed. Hopefully, we'll see a lot of acceleration as the vaccine comes into play and we sort of come out of that. It's going to be interesting. What do you? Is there any plan for 2021? Just reopen.
Not really at the minute, mate. Yeah, once we reopen, then we'll go from there. But you never really know, mate. Like these things, like for us with shops and stuff like that, things always pop up all the time. And the bigger we grow, the more opportunities seem to pop up. You know, so probably not for 2021, but hopefully anything after then. Hopefully we can venture down to the routes of, I don't know, maybe another shop, or that'd be nice. But we'll just concentrate on opening first, mate, and then then we can go from there. It would be nice, but we try and supply this first. So
how many shops do you reckon you're going to aim for?
I don't know.
Is it open end?
All of them.
100. All of them.
To be fair, mate, I said to the missus at 2 that would be it, and now it's 4. So I think she's even got to the point where she's bored of it. Where I say to her, "Look, oh yeah, we're thinking about this shop here." She's like, "Oh yeah, cool, yeah," and then she just carries on talking about something else, because I think it just gets to that point now where she's probably a bit bored of it. But nah, she's
Em does that as well.
So, yeah.
Like when you start talking about work or talking about your ideas, you just sort of see like all of a sudden she's just like just switches off.
That's why Adam FaceTimes me 4 times a day.
Yeah,
Ben, I've got
an idea.
So coming then, Tom, big question. Whether it is business, it's branding, it's diet, it's training, what are Tom Old's top tips to consistency? Oh, that's a hell of a question.
Oh yeah, it is.
That's deep.
I suppose top tips for it would be
more Tom.
Oh, you could have asked me this before. I could have wrote these down.
I could have prepped you, but
you put me on the spot. Yeah, just remember, I am on your spot.
Just thought of it.
You wait till you're on Tom Old's podcast, then you're really screwed.
I need to get a fancy mic first,
so Scully, what is the meaning of life?
Yeah, so I suppose top tips. Yeah, just keep yourself busy, keep yourself active. Have a focus. Have a goal. Don't like for me. I always have to have a goal.
That's one thing I've taken off of you tonight is how goal focused driven you are. Whether, as we say, it's business, your own health, or whatever.
Yeah,
just having something to aim everything at.
Yeah, and it even comes down to little daily things. Like even getting out of bed and then making sure I go for that walk, or if I go for a run, or making sure I have my meal 1 by this time or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like just little goals. I know, and that sounds stupid, but that's what works for me. So if I set myself little goals, it just tends to work. So that'd be a tip. Just setting yourself goals, really.
Well answered, man. Well answered.
You better let me know next time.
No, mate. If you're going to blag it that well, I'm never letting you know again.
I think that's only you asked for 5, but I think that 1 will just do. So.
Mate, that is 5 answers worth of. I'll give you that, man.
Cool.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, it's going to be really interesting to see, obviously, where you take this whole the whole barber shop. What can we call it now? Is it a mini empire yet? Are we there yet? That sort of level?
My business partner would call it that. He definitely would. But yeah, I'm
right.
Sure, but yeah, it is growing. It's growing nice, to be fair. And it's growing obviously a lot quicker and a lot bigger than we really did think. But
I'm going to Google what is below an empire.
We just
carry on talking.
What is like if you're so, like I said, like if not to repeat myself too much, but you rewind. How old are we now? 29, 30. You rewind 10 years or so, and you were just you're doing your apprentice. I think you passed your apprenticeship at this point, and you were much like myself. You were in one of those positions where people were your mates were thinking, like, where's your next move going to go? So, what would you say to other young barbers? What's your top tips to them? What's the mindset got to be like? What would you suggest to them to do to progress in the way that you have? What is it, do you think, that separated you from, I don't know, someone else, another barber that maybe hasn't made quite the career path you have?
I think like it's probably hard to compare with something because everyone's obviously got a different life.
Yeah, don't do names.
So like we've got guys.
What did Ollie call it the other day? Stuff. Yeah, stuff, and that covers everyone else.
So like we've got barbers that work for us that do loads of hours. We've got barbers that do less hours, you know, but you know, you give them the same advice if they want to do the same thing, you know. So, but anyone that's coming into it new, and it just depends from your outset from the off, really. I mean, some people like going into general jobs, don't they, and just working their 9 to 5, and they're happy with that. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to be someone who wants to progress and do your own thing or open your own business or do anything like that, you need to just put the extra hours in, I suppose, and be disciplined to put that extra bit of money away, or, you know, sacrifice a couple of things here and there, you know, and do what is good for you. You know, I mean, for me, if it means going in and doing an extra day or two a week just to make an extra bit of money, then to get to, like I said earlier, having a goal, if it means doing that to get to my goal, I'll do it. I mean, I don't, to be fair, I don't really care what hours I do. I'll do any hour to make sure I'm getting there. But that's just my mindset. So if anyone wants to not repeat what I've done is completely different. You know, some people want to go and progress and open their own shop, and people can do that. I get it, but if you want to push yourself even more, then yeah, you just do.
Well, what? All right then. Well, what in the 12-ish years that you've got experience or your journey, should we say, what one or two major pivotal points could you reflect on and say that was the real decision that made the move? And at the time, you were thinking of being a majorly difficult decision to make. Does that make sense?
Kind of, yeah. You got to remember, I am just a barber here, yeah. So this is all quite technical to me. So I think certainly when I opened the first shop, that was obviously a pivotal moment for me. It was, you know,
Is that something you were really nervous about?
Yeah, for me, it weren't really like. For me, like growing up, I never really had a lot of money or anything like that, you know. So for me to save a vast sum of money was big for me. I've never, to be fair, I started saving quite a bit of money, and then I went on quite a big holiday that you'll remember quite well. And that blew pretty much all my money. So
we basically spent a month in Tenerife.
Yeah, so that took a lot of my money. But then when I come back from there, I met my wife, and she's very disciplined with a lot of things, to be fair. So, and one good thing she's disciplined with is money, and she's good at putting things away and making sure you save correctly and stuff. So for me, that helped me massively, just save up and make that first move. And she kind of helped that, really, I would say. So that first pivotal moment was getting the first shop with. Not only was it sort of my business partners, you know, influence on that to go with that shop. It was probably her as well, really, just to say, look, you're good at what you do. If it messes up, it doesn't matter. You can always go back to just doing what you've been doing, and you know, there's no real gamble. The only gamble you're going to do is all the money you've saved up. You might lose eventually, you know, but you know that is part and parcel of the progression, I suppose, isn't it? So.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. When you're younger, that's one of the things that whenever we've spoke to like students or anything like that, I've always said when you're in that, probably, what would you say, like 16 to 24 in particular, if not, you could even definitely argue a bit older, but it depends on your life circumstances. I'd definitely say that, you know, take those risks then, like you did. Like if you're saving that much, definitely always invest in yourself and your future in some way, shape or form. But whilst you're doing that, don't be afraid to take the risk and make that calculated step, risk, gamble, whatever you want to call it, because you're at a time where you can afford to say, well, actually, I've lost everything, but I've learned a lot. I've still got the energy to work every hour I need to make it back up again.
Yeah, of course.
And I think that's important. I think that's bang on.
Yeah, no, it's so yeah, I would say that was probably the main sort of moment, because from there we kind of it just went from strength to strength, really, you know. So we opened up the second shop, third shop, fourth shop, and so the pivotal point really was the first shop, because it was just that was probably the riskiest one, to be fair, I'd say, because I'd never done it.
Stowmarket.
So Sudbury was the first one. Then as soon as we sort of opened that, everything went quite well, really. And then we went on to Stowmarket, then the other one in Bury, and then the one recently in Dis.
And you think Bury was the riskiest one?
No, the riskiest one definitely was Sudbury, because it was the first. I mean, like I said, I'd never saved, you know, money to that extreme, really. I really got my head down. I didn't really look at my my bank account or anything like that. I just got my head down and worked hard, you know. So for me to then sort of hand money over and, you know, take a gamble, like, it was a big thing for me, really. Like, I'm not that sort of, like, I'm not tight as such, but I'm also like, you know, like I said, I never really had money growing up or anything like that, you know. So it's it was a bit of a gamble, but like, thankfully it paid off.
Clearly, man, clearly.
Yeah, no, definitely. All right, guys. Well, we've probably hit up the hour marker there. So what we'll do is we'll turn things down there. We didn't end up going live. So anybody that is watching this on record, I do apologise, because we did say we were going to go live 7 p.m. But what I'll do is that we'll get everything all uploaded after this. So chaps, you can stay on the line. We're going to leave it there. Ladies and gents, there'll be another episode for next week's Revolution Live Lounge. That will be with Don Heatrick, a strength and conditioning coach from Heatrick Strength and Conditioning. So we're looking forward to that one very much. Thanks very much.